Hello everyone. DMGeezerjim here, doing another monster short. Kind of wanted to change directions a little bit for this one. Before I go too far, thank you for joining me. Thank you for your time. This is one in a long-running series of monster shorts, just where we're going to talk a little bit of information about some 5th edition D&D monsters. Obviously using the stat blocks for 5e, but maybe the information can transfer over, at least in regards to tactics and lore, to your system of choice. So thank you for joining me. Likes, follows, all that kind of cool stuff is appreciated. Subscribes, and certainly comments are appreciated. Let me know if there's other stuff you want to do. But anyway, for this one, I wanted to change directions ever so slightly. Instead of talking about one monster and 3 things about that, some common monsters. I did a full 15, 18-minute spiel on wolves and how to use wolves, tactically sound ways to use them. Let's look at some other stuff that could fill in, It's always wolves, it's always rats, it's always spiders. We kill giant rats, giant spiders, giant wolves, giant bears, giant, on and on. There's a lot more other giant animals out there. Let's take a look at a few of them, We're going to start really quick with the low-hanging fruit, man. A giant badger, okay? 5e actually has it statted out, ready to go. It's a 1/4 CR, the difficulty of a goblin. Armor class 10, hit point 13, 30-foot walking foot, 10-foot burrow speed, short dark vision, somewhat decent passive perception on smell. So basically anything that our players are doing, they'll have keen smell advantage on their wisdom checks to find people, with a passive of 11 and a +1 on their roll. Pretty good detecting. Watchdog type critters, multi-attack, 2 attacks, 1 with its bite and 1 with its claw. Badgers, y'all. Shit, we all know honey badgers mean as hell. American badgers ain't much nicer. Throw out your wolf encounter and throw in a group of pissed off badgers next time you need a random wilderness encounter. Badgers will work in any climate, short of pure Arctic, like Antarctic type Arctic or high Sahara type desert. Badgers can live in 90%, 80% of the climates that are on Earth, so they can fit in so many places in your campaign. If you've been finding yourself relying on wolves, finding yourself on look, another giant spider, flip it out. Drop in a giant badger, a couple giant badgers next time. If you need to liven up a lair encounter, a goblin cave, or kobolds would totally be down with badgers, man. Throw a few giant badgers in as cave guardians, as diggers. They have a burrow speed of 10 feet. They're medium-sized creatures, so they're going to dig decent-sized tunnels as well. Adding a group of badgers to a kobold encounter can definitely give the kobolds some extra bite, so to speak. Now, statistically, they're not the most challenging. Even maxed out, they hit 20 hit points, armor class of 10, unarmored creatures. Pretty good attacks, though, for their level. +3 to hit, and 2 attacks, a claw attack averaging 6, 2d4 +1, bite attack with 1d6 +1, +3 on either of those. They don't get pack tactics. They don't get any of the major, group abilities like that. They're just kind of foot soldier type creatures. But we all know badgers are mean. Badgers are surly. Throw out your wolves. Throw in some badgers once in a while. Get rid of the owlbear and drop in 5 badgers chasing your party, coming up out the woods, out the shrub, and ready to eat that party up, man. And because they mean, you can fight them all the way to death, and no one's going to care. So yeah, the first beast we're going to look at, low-level, common creature, not even unusual, not even exotic, a very common, well, these days they're uncommon. Depending on where you live in the country, it might be even rare, but, in times past, a badger's a pretty common creature. I would dare say a giant badger is probably more common than a dire wolf or a pack of wolves, so throw some badgers in there. Replace those things. A climb burrow speed of 10 is a little bit of a plus. Granted, 10 feet isn't that quick, but if they go 10 feet down and 10 feet across with their dash, your party can follow them under the tunnel, or they cannot attack the badger anymore, because the badger's now out of range. 10-foot burrow speed, they go straight down at an angle. Line of sight is now broken. So even though they don't seem very versatile, the burrowing speed of 10 feet combined with a dash action, they're 20 feet underground now. That's 10 feet down, 10 feet to either side, 5 feet diagonal, 15 feet off, however you want to manage that. So you can use the burrowing speed to set up additional strikes and ambushes and let badgers actually, a group of giant badgers become a persistent threat rather than a one-off. They come at the party kills them, and they're gone. One or two badgers go down, the other 5 start burrowing, and then they pop up later to jack with the party. But yeah, fun critter. Consider throwing out your wolves, throw out your bears, drop in some badgers. The second one I'm going to talk about, you guys may or may not be using them. I tend to use great cats pretty often, but I'm just dropping on the Panther stat block, staying in line with a low-level critter as far as a 1/4 CR, suitable for a group of these to attack a level 1 party and not kill them. A pack of these attacking a level 3 party and posing a challenge. These, that's the niche that we're finding. The random encounter, the field encounter, the filler fight type of a thing. And Panthers really fill in that gap with an armor class of 12, hit points of 13. A little bit more durable, actually a lot more durable than our Badger. Where's the difference in it? Number one, they have a lot of mobility as well. Your Panther's not going to have 2 attacks, they're just limited to 1. They have a little bit higher chance to hit, a little bit more damage output on that 1 attack, but 1 versus 2, you're always going to take 2. Ask your players. So a Panther, don't just relegate yourself to the Black Panthers slinking through. Florida Panthers, give yourself a Snow Panther, reskin it. If you need to reskin it as a Jaguar, reskin it as a Jaguar, a Mountain Lion, a Wildcat, things like that. But this stat block is very, very useful. Now, as our number 2 critter, what makes a Panther fun and unique? Number 1 is their mobility, 50-foot movement on the ground and 40-foot climb. This adds a creature that can use a lot of verticality in combat. Remember, climbing speed of 40 means he can go down a vertical surface without making an athletics check, without it being difficult terrain. A 20-foot drop, 20 foot off a cliff down, another 30 feet forward to a party member. That's some bad news. You can close the distance very quickly with 50 feet of movement. So a Panther with its vertical abilities of to climb, plus its normal movement speed, it's got a lot of versatility. So one of its main abilities is Pounce. Okay, if the Panther moves at least 20 feet straight towards a creature and then hits it with a claw attack on the same turn, the target needs to make a DC 12 strength save or be knocked prone. If the target's knocked prone, the Panther can make 1 bite attack against it as a bonus action. If you're prone, a creature has advantage on the attack against you, and you have disadvantage on attack rolls. So unless you stand up, that's going to happen. So that's some impact from this little critter. It's a 1/4 CR, no different than a wolf, no different than a giant badger we just looked at, but it can have some oomph to it. Using a pack of 2 or 3 Panthers with their mobile, their mobility that they have, coupled with, strategic pounces, you can cause some damage. You can make the treetops a little bit wary. You can keep your eyes up after you pounced on your party with a couple, 2 or 3 Panthers. Or turned them into mountain lions. But anything, above all else, remember when you're using a Panther, though, because of their climb speed, because of the being cats, they're going to want to attack from above. A Panther's not going to be lurking around really low in the bushes if it has a chance to jump from above. So make sure that the environment that you're going to use a great cat in supports how the great cat's going to hunt. If you want to use a plains ambusher, use a cheetah, use a lion, something that has more straight line speed to make up for the fact that it doesn't have the vertical movement. So looking at Panthers, mountain lions, cougars, those are the kind that are going to fall into make sure that they're very, very great to have fun with. Just give them a vertical environment to make them more of a threat to your party. But climate-wise, same thing. They fill in almost any gap in any, almost any environment in the world. You can find a Panther or something similar to it in size and shape in regards to a great cat. So this is something else that should push the giant rats off to the side. No more giant wolves. As an added bonus, if you want to fluff it up, have a group of 5 Panthers led by a displacer beast. I don't want to go into displacer beast yet, but just extra little fluff to add a little bit more oomph to the encounter, if you will. And the last thing I'm going to look at, I'm going to use the Giant Swan stat block because of the consistency in the CR rating. It's a little bit higher, actually. But there is a Giant Goose. Okay, I don't want the goose that laid the golden egg out of fizz bands. I'm just talking a regular ass. Everyone has been chased by this ugly thing as they take their kids through the park. And no matter what you do, the thing keeps coming after you. You kick it, you hit it with your purse, it goes, gets its friends, it comes back after you, and it comes after you again. Why on God's green earth are we not assaulting our parties with gaggles of giant geese? In this case, to keep within the same CR, giant swan, erase the swan, go with geese, 10-foot walking, 80-foot flying. 80 foot's a lot of movement. So I'm not necessarily making them do the up and downs and the twirlies like an eagle or an owl or anything. I'm more thinking the bobbing, flying 20 feet, bouncing off the ground, 5 on their 5 feet of their walking movement, flying across, and 10 or 12 of those things bouncing at your party. This is shock and awe, okay? Using a group of giant geese, I guess this is a little bit more fun than a pure threat. But guys, there's a lot of waterfowl in the world. If we're assuming that every other creature from the ant to the giant ant, the centipede to the giant centipede, the rat to the giant rat, etc., why do we not have giant geese? I know the answer to that is, again, they've been kind of relegated over to the goose that laid the golden egg tied in with the giants, but let's take it down a notch. Throw yourself a giant swan in there, take the stat block, call it a giant goose, and you have a gaggle of giant geese running at your party across the marshlands. 6-foot tall goose with 10-foot flying armor class 13, hit point 26, average, tough. This is a CR1, mind you, so 8 of these running at your level 3 party is still going to be a little bit of a threat. 2 of these running at a level 1 party is going to, could possibly jack them up pretty bad. But it's just got 2 beak attacks, plus 5 to hit, 1d6 plus 3 piercing damage. But yeah, more than anything, it's a common creature that we all have everyday existence, that we all have in encounters within our lives. Ain't no one, look at that face, man. Why on this God Greener, that big old ugly ass mouth, why are we not running that thing after our player characters a lot more often? I've done it once or twice as a joke, and it was pretty funny. But it did occur to me, man, I need more birds to use in combat rather than just always being an owl or a harpy or a periton or a rock or, you know what? What would be terrifying for my group for a gaggle of giant geese to come running across, come up out of the water, 1, 2, 3, 5, 7 of these 6-foot tall geese just running, pecking at your party, dude. They're going to make some bad decisions. They're going to react poorly. That's, like I said, it's a shock and awe factor. But that's really it. So, hey, that's really it. Just 3 beasts, 3 critters that exist in the world, that exist in D&D that we can use to liven up and add some variety to our encounters without adding a lot of new abilities and crazy stuff to use. But they still have something. Number 1, our badgers, giant badgers. Mean as hell, mean and surly, big and nasty, climbing or digging speed of 10 foot, gives them a little bit of flexibility on the battlefield for survival. And they're not going to dig up and sneak up on anybody unless you want them to. But yeah, other than that, nasty bite, nasty claw, not too much damage, not too much to hit. But, a little bit disconcerting for your party to run into. Number 2, we looked at the panther, the lowly panther. Black panther, Florida panther, mountain lion, puma. All of those are covered in that stat block. Pretty formidable combatant for a low-level party with their pounce abilities, giving with a 40-foot, 30-foot walking, 40-foot climbing speed. They have a lot. Let me just look back over there really quick. It's 50-foot walking, 40-foot climbing. Not a total of 90, but a combination there. They have a lot of mobility. Use some vertical areas with them. Give them some trees to lounge in, some cliffs to jump up and down, and your party's going to have a challenging encounter and a memorable, low intensity encounter with basic creatures that aren't wolves or bears today. And last, we closed up with the goose, man. That big, ugly, nasty, honking thing that just chased all of our kids through the park and made us look like fools because then it chased us after we tried to chase it off. Dude, do the same thing to your players, man. Maybe they run in fear like we all do in the park, or maybe they get that little bit of fantasy aggression. Man, I never got to kill a goose. I'm jacking these suckers up. Man, yeah, a giant goose encounter, shit, that son of a bitch can, roll up in the middle of a town and have a lot of fun with that. But yeah, thanks for joining me on this quickie. Like I said, it's just 3 basic, nondescript animals that live in the real world that are considered beasts for 5e and D&D that would make for memorable encounters to add some variety to you. Don't forget about your badgers. Don't forget about your pumas. And take a look at some giant swans and turn them into giant geese and have some fun with your party. But hopefully you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for your time. Likes, follows, subscribes are always appreciated. Let me know what you thought in the comments, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.